Often when you guys study for exams, I think that if we just put you in groups to study, there's like less direction. So you're going to be talking about what you're doing this weekend rather than just studying. So what I'd like to do is kind of utilize this mode called Jigsaw discussion, and this is going to help y'all get focused with your studying. All right, this is how it works, and you'll be given a participation grade on this. So,
Nice.
all right. So what's a jigsaw? You guys know jigsaw puzzles. It's basically a planned discussion where you become an expert on one piece of literature, and then you're going to teach that to your group members. So you're going to be given a piece of literature that is on the study guide. One of the 5 stories, and we're going to be separated into 5 different groups to begin, and then that group focuses just on that one specific story. This is how it works. We have our expert groups. Your column, like this, is your expert group. So in just a moment, you're going to be drawing to see what story you have to become an expert on. You discuss that assigned story, and you're going to note the following. You guys should write this on your paper. On your expert story, you should notify the genre or subgenre. If it's nonfiction, I want to know, is it a memoir, autobiography, biography? The elements of literature. What are some of the elements of literature?
Plot.
Right.
Overview.
So you can just refer to that, and all of that you should be able to answer for each of the stories that are listed. This is mainly focused for our fiction stories, but you can still utilize the setting, the mood, what is the author's point of view for the nonfiction works as well. And literary devices, which include what?
Metaphors.
Simile.
Figurative language.
Yes.
What's the
Yes.
definition of the
Irony.
Yeah.
Irony. In any of those literary devices that would stand out in the story, I want you to write down and note, because some of those you would have to identify on the exam. Like you may have a passage to read, and then it may say, show how this is ironic. Show the irony or the dramatic irony in this passage. And then you would want to be able to tell me that, or the situational irony.
Are we allowed to use our fact quizzes or tests
To study?
to do this thingy?
Yes, absolutely. Your focus is just on that one story. Okay, so you look at the past quizzes, tests, notes, any of that, and of course review it from your textbook too. The next thing I want you to do is to indicate the background information or the context. Is this story, what's the historical context of this? Obviously with
Thank you, ma'am.
Glory and Hope with Nelson Mandela, the historical context of his speech, because that you need to know that. That's important to understanding the text. The vocabulary that's within the each story too. So those vocabulary words, you're not tested on it by definition, but those words may be used in a question. And if you don't know the word, then it may be hard for you to comprehend the question. And I want you, for the story that you're an expert in, to draw a plot diagram. Remember?
Oh, okay, I think he wants to draw one of those, so like a bubble chart thing.
Yeah, no, just the triangle. So what is our plot diagram? It starts with a what?
Exposition.
Exposition, and then
Rising action, climax, running
Fall
fall.
action.
Resolution.
excellent. Good.
Resolution.
So you should note all of that. And then lastly, you're actually going to create a handout with those important details. So as you get together with your expert group, you're going through all of the items listed, and then I want you to write create a handout. So you're taking notes. How can we put this together in a handout to provide for our classmates? And then, so expert discussion date is today. And then on Monday, you go from expert to teacher to learner. So on Monday, you are not with your expert group. You're with what I'm going to call a study group. And in that study group will be made of different experts, like a jigsaw. So like we were here, everybody's separate, and now you're all coming together to study. See how that
I
works?
see this.
So in the study group, each member will go around and discuss his or her story of expertise. You will provide handouts that highlight that important information to the members of the study group, and then you basically teach or review the material to that group. So you tell them, okay guys, I was to be an expert on Mandela's speech, glory, and hope. So here's what I've learned from that, here's what we can review, and then you're kind of helping to teach them. Here's the handout I provided you on like the historical background with all of that note-taking. So learners, as a learner, you add to your own notes and then ask questions. Well, I don't remember that part of the story. I don't remember that character. What was that about? Oh yeah, and now then it'll kind of come back to you. This does not replace your independent study because all of you should still be studying each and every night. Hopefully last night you focused on grammar. Tonight I would continue to still focus on following that sample study chart. But this is just a good way for you as to get into a study group and to make that the most beneficial. I don't think the exam is overly difficult. I think that if you don't study, it's going to be it's going to be so frustrating. But if you do study and you go back and review the stories and the terminology, make sure you know that terminology, then you can do quite well. So look, have that goal for yourself to be here, but make sure you take all the steps needed to get there. And so your study group discussion is going to be on Monday. Yes.
For these handouts, do you want us to type them so we can like highlight them better and stuff?
I think that it would be wise to do that. You could just, it's probably easier.
Or can you like
type
write it out
really
really
quick.
neat and then like make copies of that?
That's fine. However you think is best, but if you were teaching this to a group, how can you best teach it to them? Through song. You could create a song. You could create a dance. I think that would be great. Like you could definitely do that for the casket and Montalado or something like that. Any other questions? No? Alright. So here's how you're evaluated. You're going to be assessed for the following: your participation in the expert groups, which we'll be doing today, the creation of a handout, and then third of all, your participation as a teacher or leader, and as a learner in your study group. So looking at your participation level rubrics that you have in your binder, and it's also guidelines in your syllabus, that's kind of what I'm basing that off of. So if you are like goofing off or throwing paper, that's not a high level of participation. But if you're actually focused on studying and really making this useful, this can I think be very advantageous for y'all to get you prepared for the exam. Any other questions? All right.